Welcome, everybody. It's your boy, the Versace Stoner, back with the new year here on VSW Podcast. If you heard anything from our last year, you know what we cover. We cover, independent wrestling, New England sports, all sorts of other things. And one of the other things we do cover is pop culture. And pop culture includes many things: music, movies, bands, acts, different things. And today we're going to talk a little bit about a movie that's been kind of trending on Netflix. It is called Don't Look Up. Has a great cast. You got Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence, Kate Blanchett, Ariana Grande, Timothy Chalamet, Meryl Streep, Chris Evans, Mark Rylance, Rob Morgan, Kid Cudi, Melanie Linsky, Jonah Hill. I mean, it goes on and on. It is. Now, before I get into this actually further, let's just talk about two things, and two things only. First of all, spoilers are going to be everywhere. So if you want to watch this movie, don't listen to this first. Just don't. Okay, and the second thing is, this movie is a satire. It is a comedy. There is some, obviously, deep subjects that happen in the movie, and there's also some deep metaphors supposedly being talked about. But at the end of the day, this is a comedic film and a satire. Now, it starts all off really with Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence's characters, Randall Mindy and Kate Dibiasky, if I'm pronouncing it right, Dibiasky. And Dibiasky is they're at the state. They're in the Michigan State or University. I don't know. Astronomy. They're checking out different astral bodies, looking for comets, different anomalies, etc. Kind of low level, just kind of junior science astronomy stuff. You're not working for NASA. They're not working, for a big corporation. And she discovers something. She discovers a very large comet. Huge. Huge tail, huge comet. Hurling through space. She lets Randall know. And they have a little party. Some of the other students and people in the class kind of come together. And one of the students asks, Randall, how do we find out its trajectory? He mentioned something that he hasn't done, these kind of course things and since it's like college years, but he would give it a try. And they did. And they worked out where this asteroid comet would land. And, well, as the numbers kept crunching, we saw a very disturbed Randall as he realizes that there's impact. It is impacting Earth. He lets everybody else go. He says he can't finish it out tonight, and doesn't tell anybody except Kate, who he leaves behind. And from there, it kind of just jumps into things. Kate gets introduced. They call around. They call some science places. They call the U.S. and they get in touch with you know different people. And one of them is the doctor, Dr. Teddy, and he's working with kind of NASA in the space. And so they all kind of talk, and they tell him what they've discovered, what he's discovered, And it's just kind of, this is a holy shit moment because it's an extinction level event. The comet is, bigger than what killed the dinosaurs. The world, the life is over, and you got about 6 months until this goes. Boom. Um, now Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence both play kind of anxious, nervous people. Randall especially is very anxious and nervous. Kate is more kind of just out there. Puts stuff out there a little bit, but both of them I have their kind of like little bit of shyness and not really. You'll see as the movie progresses. And so it progresses nicely. So what I want to say is, so it starts off with these two, and now they're gonna meet with the president of the United States of America, and that's played by Meryl Streep. Janie Orlean and is the character's name, and like now I'm gonna tell you right now, she's like a crossbreed between Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, and other big kind of names that we would see out there. It in the political world, and she played these archetypes very well. So they go in already. The president, a day late. They have to put these people in a hotel. There's a funny exchange between a general and he goes into the White House pantry. There, they kind of have like a waiting area, and he grabs a bunch of snacks and some waters, and he comes back to the characters, with Randall and Kate and the doctor, and he's like, they charge me an arm and a leg here for these things. How about 10 each should do fine. And everybody gives him cash and so forth, and then the general has to leave. Later on, Kate actually gets a little thirsty and goes back into that pantry room, and she grabs a water and she asks the lady sitting there, where do I pay for this? And she turns around and looks at it, like, it's free. This is the White House. And Kate at this point realizes she's been duped, and it's kind of like just bewildered and boggled. She goes back. She tells everybody, the snacks were free, this and that, and it was kind of it was a funny moment, and it kind of sticks with the whole movie because she will keep thinking about that moment and why. Um, why it was like that. But so anyways, the next day comes. They meet with the president, and the president is not really taking this too seriously. They're trying to explain to them in the best way they can what's coming towards Earth, and they're making jokes. They don't want to hear that it's 100% chance. They have to say 70. They want to, they can't tell the media. You can't tell people. You can't tell this. They're gonna sit, assess, and wait on it. And there's only 6 months left before this thing impacts and destroys the whole world. So Randall and Kate leave, kind of just in dismay. They meet with other scientists, and they're gonna decide they're gonna leak the information through media channels. Meanwhile, Peter Isherwell gets a hold of these results. Now, Peter Isherwell, played by Mark Rylance, is this like trillionaire kind of mogul. You would think he was like the owner of Apple meets Bill Gates meets Elon Musk. You know, Jeff Bezos meets all these guys all combined into this one person. And he's just kind of just on the outside sweet old man, but really he's very devious. He's not as smart as he seems, and He plays this archetype very well. Anyways, he gets a hold of these results and he kind of looks, and we realize through him that he um, is kind of like a phone. He has created a new phone that tells people how they feel. And if you feel sad, it plays you something happy, and it makes you an appointment to the doctor, and it does all these things. This future tech. So he's a big tech guy. He gets a hold of these results. Other people get a hold of these results. So all the results are pointing to the same thing. You got 6 months, 14 days, and so they get them, and they get on a show. And they meet Brie Evelyn on the show, and Tyler Perry's character, Jack Bremmer. Now these two play like this, morning talk show host, and they keep it very light, no matter the subject. Now you got, you know, Randall and Kate coming on here talking about, end of the world kind of stuff, and they're making kind of light of it and making kind of, silly jokes and little things. And at one point, Katie just loses it and she starts screaming, "We're all gonna die! This is the end!" And she just goes nuts. This becomes what would happen in today's world. You make funny faces and things when you're screaming, and people freeze. They made her into a meme. She became a meme. She became viral. Her little schmeal became viral. They became a joke. Nobody believed her. She's the crazy lady. Randall, on the other hand, got a lot of praise for the way he looked on TV, and he became kind of like the sexy doctor, kind of like sexy scientist kind of guy. People kind of felt for him, and they made, they pushed that, the media, and so they made him into that role, and you know, and then finally it comes down more into it. It goes on and on, and finally, the White House has realized they've made a mistake in this. So they invite everybody back, and they kind of be like, "Yo, we're sorry," and and they want to kind of work with them. And the thing is, you got Janie Orlean, the president, and I want to say the vice president there was her son, and so he played by Jonah Hill, Jason Orlean, and it was a very comedic too because he just wasn't like socially. His social etiquette is, and he just did not know how to speak about things. People are talking about this and that and sentimental things, and he's talking about materialistic things. His mind isn't where the others are. You can tell he doesn't really care for lower people. He's rotten. Anyways, they all talk about it. They decide that they are gonna do something about this asteroid comet, and they are gonna blow it out of its orbit. They're gonna shoot nukes at it. They bring in, by Ron Perlman, played by Ron Perlman, Benedict Drask. Now, this guy's like this ex southern, really non PC, I don't know, police officer, cowboy, astronaut. Just this total. I don't know. He was just like I said, where you have to see it to kind of get the vibe. But he comes into the picture. This is all about the midterms that are going to take place, and the president wants these midterms, and so they pick this guy. And the head of NASA gets fired, and the head of this gets fired. The president makes adjustments and makes a big speech, and so they get all the launches ready to go, and we're ready, and it's launch day, and everybody's kind of excited. Ron Benedict Draski's up there, and he's saying crazy shit like, I want to, you know, thank the foreign people he was talking about. And just the way he talked about people and race, sex, religion. It was over the top. And he's talking to the whole nation. And so they send all the rockets up. They're going, mission's going great, mission's going great. And we see Peter Ishwell come in and ask to talk to Jamie, the president. And at first, Janie's like, give me a second. And he's like, no, now. And she gets right up and they go out into the other room. And we watch this launch and we notice now, the spectators are like, oh, wait a minute, the vessel is turning around. They bicker a little bit. No, it's course adjustment. But no, no. The rocket turns around, parachutes get deployed, the mission is aborted, and we don't know why. We don't know why. Um, Randall, Kate, they're in a state of just shock. They don't know what's going on. Nobody knows what's going on. The president is going to debrief them soon, and she asks to talk with Randall, and they bring Randall in. Not Kate. Kate they leave out, but Randall they bring in. And they basically are in a room with, the president, the vice president, and Peter Ishwell. And he explains about precious minerals and materials and how his phones and basically that this comet is worth trillions of dollars in materials. And instead of just blowing it up or sending it off course, they have a new method. And they've worked with these probes and these drones that go in, and basically these ships will send, 30 so drones up. They will drill a hole into this asteroid, they will plant bombs. These things will explode, and instead of one big asteroid, you'll have 30 to 30 little asteroids hitting Earth, which won't be as catastrophic, and then they can collect this these rocks for the financial gain. At first, Randall is kind of on board, but then he realizes this isn't really a good idea. Kate is dead set against it. Ted, the doctor, is dead set against it, and a whole kind of divide in the country takes place, and that's what the Don't Look Up is. And you have the president kind of acting with these people that this is nothing. These people are out of control. There's nothing up there. There's nothing coming down to destroy us. We'll take care of this. Don't even bother looking up. Don't look up. And then you get all the people going, it's right in front of you. The asteroid is right in front of you. Can't you fucking see it? Why? Why aren't you doing anything? And as the asteroid gets closer, you can see it in the sky, and it's big, and it's got a big tail. And you see all the media and all the social outlets showing all of this. The controversy, the people fighting. You're gonna have, now you have social injustice as the world's getting close to ending. People are rioting, looting, and you do have the president acting very much like, kind of like President Trump kind of did. And I'm going to say, I'm not really talk politics, but kind of like how how Trump and a lot of supporters were like, COVID's not here. Don't look at COVID. It's not here. It's nothing. You know, we're gonna do this, this, and this, or don't look at. As a lot of people are saying, this is a metaphor for climate change. Don't look at climate change. It's not really here. It doesn't really exist. And you got all the people saying, look, it's right there. You can see it. Look at the heat. Look at the results. And that's kind of the whole base of this. And this, they took the satire, but they put some real life logistics into it, and how you know we work here, and there always is a great divide, and there's always people dueling, and so we get ready and we find out now that other countries that the U.S. has cut out for profit or bash entity the company has cut out. They decide to do their own divert mission, and it goes horribly wrong. An explosion happens, and so it's all up to Bash. It's all up to you know um, Peter Ishwell. Now, meanwhile, you had some exchanges within the characters themselves. You know, Randall kind of was off, and when he was off, and he was chief science behind this, and he was on TV. He got caught up in a relationship with one of the co-hosts of that show, Brie Eventry, played by Kate Blanchett, and they really started that relationship. They really they kept cheating, and Randall was married. He had kids at home, and eventually it comes ahead, and the wife comes, and she catches them, and it's just a kind of moment. What do you want to do, Randall? What are you gonna do? Are you gonna stay? You gonna go? What are you gonna do? And he gets kind of fired from working for Peter Ishwell with his thought process and questioning things because at one point all the scientists they were questioning were being fired, and he comes on the show and he kind of has a meltdown like Kate did earlier and just told everybody basically they're gonna die. This is just insane. And he got himself fired, and he ends up going back home. Kate ends up just running kind of and meets Yule, played by Timothy Chalamet. He's kind of like a drifter, street kid. They kind of fall in love, and he becomes really deep, and they're hanging out in the streets. And eventually they all get together on launch day when you know Peter Isherwell is going to launch his whole project. Randall ends up, calling Kate, and they end up getting together with Yule and going to, Randall's wife's house and seeing their kids, and he ends up making up, and they end up making dinner and eating a dinner, one last big dinner. Dr. Teddy comes, and they all sit down and eat, and they say a prayer, which Yule does because he was actually an evangelical. I'm not gonna say that right, but he was very religious, which a lot of people in the movie weren't, but he happened to be. And now so like you have all this going on, and we're gonna also simultaneously you have this bash launch, and people just getting excited for it. We see the launch take place. A couple engines blow up, and Peter's just like, well, we're okay with that. This is all normal. This is great. He's just kind of happy, joyous, kind of just living in his own head. And we see everything happening and landing and so forth. And then, we keep going back and forth and, to Randall and Kate and all of them and just having this really nice dinner party, having some wine. Not really, they're not watching the news, they're not doing anything, and they're just kind of doing this. And then, we see this, the Bash, go back to the Bash launch, and now they've landed on the asteroid, the comet, and they're sending in the little drones, and they're doing the drill, and they're setting the bombs, and we see the explosions. We see all the explosions, and then we it cuts them. They get in a call from Russia, the president saying that the asteroid is still whole, it's still intact, it did not work, and we see a Peter Ishwell go, oh, hey, and kind of just, well, I'll be right back. I'm going to go use the restroom and not really caring at all. The president soon follows him and saying, I'll be right back. And everybody's just kind of left in the launch room going, what's going on? What is the status? And you have the president's son just kind of screaming, "She'll be back! She'll be back!" And some people are like, "Screw this! I got a kid." People are just abandoning. They know it's the end. They know it didn't work. And we fast forward a little bit, and we see them in the house, and then you know Randall gets a call and that he could be part of a ship with like 200 something people. They were leaving right away. The president, Peter, some other billionaires, people that could afford it. They were all going on a ship, going into cryogenic sleep, and they'll wake up when they're in another planet. And he declined, and they just sat there, and you see the world shake, and basically everything just blows up. And we have the end of credits, and you know during the credits now we have another scene that we see the ship land that they all went on, and they end up in this strange world. Peter gets out, and the president gets out, and all these people get out, and this kind of weird animal going on there, and the president goes over to it and gets eaten up. And this is kind of a nod earlier on with Bash and him telling people how they were going to die. The program could predict it, and he was kind of right, he was kind of wrong. He told Randall that he would die alone, and that was not the case. Randall died with his friends and family. He, however, did tell the president that she'd be eaten by some creature, and they didn't know what it was, and it happened to be what it was, and that was on point. And we also go back and see. Now, this was years into the future, obviously, when it shows this, but it goes back during the credit scene to the present time, and we just see the president's son coming out as well. They just left him there. He didn't die, and he was just like, "I'm the last man on Earth." He was doing some kind of selfie, and this and this, and it ended. Um, but very entertaining movie. A lot of, I wouldn't say it's a deep movie. I wouldn't say you have to analyze this and what's the meaning of this and what did this mean and what did this mean. I mean, it's pretty quite clear. This is how the world is. Where no matter what the situation is, you have one side going, "This is the facts." You got one side going, "No, this is the facts. Don't do this. Don't do that." And that's how it is. It's constantly like that. No matter what we're talking about, whether it's COVID. Yes, it's severe virus. No, it's like a cold. Whether it is an asteroid. No, it's coming. No, it's not. Climate change. A lot of people say this is climate change meaning. And, it could. It could very well mean climate change. Again, same thing. It's getting hotter. Things are melting. No, it's not. It's a lie. And no matter what you do, this is how it is. These characters are all there. The kind of president that, in it for themselves. And that's always how it's kind of been, if we've seen politics. You have, the scientists doing the work, and they kind of get, a little spotlight, limelight. You have the rich moles that kind of control things. Their money goes far beyond the influence of political power. He was able to talk with the president more easier than any of our workers and employees. So you have all these archetypes, and that is pretty realistic. I definitely say this is a movie worth watching. It was, very entertaining. It was also one of those videos where, well, here's the thing. I mean, you got a lot of catastrophe movies, end of the world movies, Armageddon kind of movies. And always at the end, at the last minute, most likely, usually things are saved. This wasn't really the case here. Everything got destroyed. They were right. Okay, it was destroyed, and you know, um, it's a little bit of a change. So, I definitely would check this out. Like I said, I know some of the people are giving it, different reviews. You got 7.3 on IMDb, 56% on Rotten Tomatoes, 50% on Metacritic. 82% of the Google users liked it. But me personally, I like it. I do like a good space flick when there is, especially when there is something like this. And like I said, it was a comedy. It was funny. You have to take it with a grain of salt, but it was funny. Um, but yeah, there's been a lot of great movies we've seen, a lot of great things we covered, and that's going to be something we're going to be also doing here on the VSW podcast. Is talking movies, is talking films, is talking different things. Yeah, I know professional wrestling, independent professional wrestling, if that will still be our major focus along with New England sports, but we are going to add more and more. I thank you everybody for listening, and if you can, you got Netflix, please go check it out. Don't Look Up. It's a great film. Like I said, watch it, enjoy it. If you want to talk about it, hit me up on here, hit me up on social. We can chat.